Today we're going to talk about the 20-inch Earth Ride, and there's an interesting story behind this model. Billy Cobham and Arman Zildjian were talking one night, and Billy was explaining to Arman how he wanted a really pingy ride cymbal when he played, and Arman was given a lot of thought, and he was walking through the factory one day, and he saw a pile of 20-inch blanks on a table waiting to be hammered, and they happened to be rock rides, and he picked up one of the blanks and he started to play it and thought that this would be a great representation of what Billy wanted. So we put it on a lathe, and we took just a wire brush, and we wiped off all the oxides. That's a byproduct of the manufacturing process, and you get this really earthy finish underneath, and it's a heavy blank. So that's how the Earth Ride was born, and it sounds like this. So we're going to talk about the A. Zildjian and CIE Vintage Series. This whole project started around 1997, 1998 with Arman Zildjian. And what he wanted to do was he wanted to recreate the very first Zildjians that Avidus made for Gene Krupa. Gene Krupa had befriended Avidus and asked for very, very thin cymbals that were easily played, that you could crash and they would open up quickly. They weren't like the heavy flat band cymbals that were coming from Turkey at the time. And the thing that Arman wanted to do was he wanted to recreate this type of cymbal, but on a more consistent basis, because it was kind of hit or miss back in the day, where you get some really, really pretty ones and some that were just okay, or some the shapes were too high or they were too flat. So he set out to recreate this one specific sound, and he had a cymbal from the 30s as a reference point. And if you look at the 16, it's a very, very thin, flexible, but it has a lot of stiffness to it. So Arman used to say you need to have it thin but stiff, because the stiffness would allow it to project and the thinness would allow it to open up. So here's a 16-inch A. Zildjian vintage crash. Very, very quick sound and very quick decay. Along with the 16, we also had an 18-inch crash, which was a little bit lower in pitch. And over here we have the 20-inch ride cymbal, and this is like the 16. It's a thinner cymbal. It probably only weighs around 4 pounds, a little bit more than 4 pounds, and it has a nice delicate ping, and it's just pretty to play on. There's also a set of hi-hats where the top is medium thin and the bottom is a medium weight for a nice warm chick sound. It kind of has the design of what would be considered the new beat, because people want that nice consistent chick. So we carried that design into the vintage hi-hats, so you'd get that nice defined chick every time you play it. And those are the vintage cymbals. This is the 18-inch K-Custom Session Crash that we designed with Steve Gadd. And Steve likes crash cymbals that have a very, very full sound. And this design is kind of like a crash cymbal and a suspended cymbal. It has a lower shape, and it has a random hammer pattern like a K does, and it's very, very pretty sounding. Here we have the brilliant Arman Thin Crash. This one's a 16, and this one's an 18. And we're also going to offer the 16 and 18 in a medium thin Arman Crash. And these cymbals were designed to harken back to the cymbals that we all know and love in the 60s, when rock and roll was really kind of taking root on the airwaves. And these cymbals, like the vintage crashes that we looked at earlier, they're thin but stiff. And The curvature is a little bit lower than the A's that we make now, and the lathing on the cymbals is very similar to the 19-inch Arman Beautiful Baby Ride that really started this whole line, where there's some deep tonal grooves in the bottom and the top's lathed a little bit smoother, and this gives it a quicker, glassier type of sound, and the brilliant finish helps mellow it out as well. So here's a 16.